Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and in this video, I want to take a look back at last year and reminisce a little bit. Now, before we get into all that, I do want to let you guys know that I'm having a bit of a January sale on my website at marcushayesuk.com. So if any of you guys want to grab any merchandise, you can get 10% off of everything by typing in the code January at checkout. Now, while we're on the subject of my website, I've actually now started selling parts on my website. At the moment, I've only got poly bushes and uprated brake hoses on there, which are both awesome modifications. I'm running poly bushes and braided brake lines on Esther, my ST170 powered Mark 1 Escort, and Maud, my Maud Mark 2 Escort. So yeah, if you're in the market for anything like that, do go and check out my website where you'll see the various different kits that I've got on offer. If there is anything else in particular you're looking for your classic Ford, do drop me an email to marcushayesuk@gmail.com and let me know what you're after, and I'll see if I can get hold of it for you. All the parts that will be sold through my website come from trusted companies. I've had loads of experience in the past with companies that are worth buying parts from and companies that aren't. So yeah, I want my website to be a place where people can go, if they choose, to buy parts for their classic Ford that they can be confident are good quality and from decent companies. Now, I must stress though that the 10% January sale is on my own personal merchandise, not on the parts that are available on my website. Anyway, with all that being said, let's take a look back at 2022. It's fair to say that it was a very busy year, loads happening with my cars. Maud and Esther benefiting from some really cool modifications. In fact, some of the bits that I was able to fit to the cars were dream parts that I never actually thought I'd ever be able to fit. But it's been a year of ups and downs. There's definitely been a fair few breakdowns, and yeah, I've been in some sticky situations, but I don't let it get me down. It's all part of the fun of being an idiot that's so obsessed with old school Fords. Now, as well as the cars, there's been a few changes in my life as well. I actually gave up my day job, although it'd be more accurate to say that I took up the possibly once in a lifetime opportunity of getting voluntary redundancy from my day job, which was at Royal Mail, where I'd been for 20 years, left school at 16 and went straight into that job. And yeah, had the opportunity to leave my job with a little bit of cash. And even though my YouTube channel wasn't and still isn't big enough to actually live off of, I just decided to grab that opportunity and see how it goes. And yeah, the redundancy money is fast running out, I'm not going to lie. Another change in my life, which happened about 3 months ago now, is I started going to the gym, and I'm still absolutely loving it. Been going twice a week with my beautiful girlfriend Kat, although the last couple of weeks I've actually been going about 4 or 5 times a week. So yeah, absolutely loving going to the gym. Really, really good for my mind, really good for my body. Definitely starting to notice gains. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get my puny muscles even bigger if I stick to it. Anyway, in terms of the cars, let's start in January, where the first video in January was me giving Heidi, my other Maud Mark 2 Escort, a respray on the interior floor area. Now, I've done it with spray cans because that car is going to be having a full interior, and yeah, definitely made the inside of the car look a million times better. Also in January, Maud, my Maud Mark 2 Escort, went on the dyno to finally get her new ST170 set up correctly by the legend Chris Todd. And yeah, it made the bottom end of what I was hoping, but still slightly more power than her old setup. And those bike carbs certainly sound a lot better than the twin choke Weber that was on her old engine setup. Now, we actually started the year with Esther, my ST170 powered Mark 1 Escort, at Gavin Pink's workshop so that him and his team could repair the damage that occurred at the end of the summer 2021. And yeah, in January, I went to collect Esther, and yeah, what an amazing job those guys done. And it was awesome to have Esther back looking mint right at the beginning of the year. At the end of January, I took Heidi, my Mordor Mark II Escort, to fabrication genius Chris Kember at Clump Fab so that he could carry out all the rust repair that car needed. And yeah, February was a little bit quieter than January. I attended a couple of car meets and got the launch control working on Maud. And then at the beginning of March, I went back down to see Chris Kember at Clump Fab to collect Heidi. And yeah, I was really happy to have her back in my possession. I really haven't cracked on with Heidi though since then as much as I was hoping. I remember when I bought that car, which was at the end of the summer 2021, I kind of had an unrealistic plan of having it on the road by summer 2022. And yeah, I actually haven't done anything on that car since I picked it up from Clump Fab in March, but that's the way things go sometimes. Also in March, I unfortunately sprained my ankle, which was really bad timing because that was about a month away from when I was due to leave my day job. And it was actually in March that I announced to you guys that that was what I was doing. Also in March, Esther, my Mark I Escort, got the replacement carbon fibre ducktail boot lid fitted and the replacement carbon fibre rear bumper fitted because both of those were damaged in the accident the previous year. And I got Esther back on the road properly for the first time in 2022 at the end of March as well. Into April, and my beautiful girlfriend Kat took Esther for a spin for the first ever time. I wasn't able to persuade her to put her foot down as much as I would have liked, but yeah, it was really, really cool seeing Kat driving Esther. And I think she enjoyed it more than she cares to admit. Also in April, we went to Santa Pod for the Fast Show, which was the first major show of the year. Maud, my Mark II, had her first of many breakdowns of the year. And Esther got yet more new carbon fibre fitted in the form of a set of carbon fibre quarter bumpers. At the end of April, Maud got a set of uprated half shafts. I actually forgot to mention a moment ago that when Maud broke down, it was because the half shaft snapped, and it also took out the diff, so I had to have the LSD rebuilt and a part of it replaced. So yeah, she got put back on the road with a stronger rear axle than she's ever had. And then we go into May, where I attended the South London Retro Power private day at Santa Pod, which was an awesome day. Unfortunately, wasn't able to take either of my cars there. We actually went down in Cat's Plastic Fiesta. And then after that, I went on an awesome trip to Northern Ireland. I actually went on the train and then took a ferry. Yeah, met up with my friend Porrig Murphy. Our first stop was to meet up with rally legend Frank Kelly, who I actually met for the first time at the Summit Run and Show in 2021. And then we spent a whole week essentially going around and checking out loads of really cool car collections that belonged to friends of Porrig. Porrig done so much work before this trip just to arrange things. And yeah, the fact that he's so connected meant that I was able to create some awesome videos on that trip. As I say, got some access to some seriously cool car collections that, you know, people don't just show to anyone. At one of the stops, I got to meet ex-BDC driver Declan Munnelly, who used to compete in BDC with his Mark II Escort, and yeah, got to see and go for a passenger ride in that Mark II Escort and check out his other projects. At one of the stops, where they had a collection of cars, I actually got a few joyrides, including a passenger ride in a Group B Datsun 240 RS, I think. I might be wrong. And then at the end of that week, we went to Innishowen for the Innishowen Run, which is awesome. I was actually riding with Porrig in his rally car for that event. Yeah, really cool, driving through the countryside despite the fact it was raining. And then the end of the run is a run up this seriously cool mountain. I think they call it Knock Allah. Don't shoot me in the comments if I've got that wrong, but yeah, awesome event. And then the day after that was the Innishowen Show, which was yeah, another awesome event. Got a chance to check out all the cars that were on the run as well as a load of others parked up at the show, and the weather actually improved for the show, which was really nice. Now at the very end of that week, we actually went to a rally day, which is local to where my friend Porrig lives, which is actually held on an airport. And yeah, that was really cool to see so many, you know, Ultra Fords, loads of Escorts, as well as other cars flying around this rally event. Now, if you haven't seen any of the videos from that trip to Northern Ireland and Ireland, I highly recommend you go back and check those out. Although that was only one of 2 trips over there that I made last year. Anyway, when I got back from that trip, Maud's brakes failed because one of the brake lines broke. So I had to fix that. And then she instantly broke down when I took her for a test drive. We then went back to Santapod for an event called GTG, which was actually a charity event. And we took Esther, my Mark 1 Escort, to that event, and she won Car of the Show in the Show and Shine, which was awesome. That's actually the second time that Esther has won a show though, because in 2021, I won a free breakfast at Herbie's Diner because Esther won Car of the Show there as well. And then right at the end of May, I purchased quite an expensive replacement bike fuel pump for Maud, hoping that it would cure the issue when she broke down on the same day that I fixed the brakes. But yeah, that pump came through and it was faulty, so I sent it back and got my money back. Into June, and Esther got yet more carbon fibre. This time it was all interior parts. So yeah, the carbon fibre door cards, carbon fibre dash top, carbon fibre switch panel, carbon fibre interior handles as well on the doors. And those parts are, as I described at the beginning of this video, you know, some parts that I never thought I'd ever get round to getting. But yeah, loving Esther's new carbon fibre interior. Also in June, Esther got herself an LSD and some uprated shafts from my friends at Retro Ford. And apparently that kit is able to take 300 horsepower. So Esther's rear end is now future-proof. But Esther's gearbox did start crunching in June as well. Into July, and Esther got a Gartrack bias pedal box to replace the cheaper one that I had fitted a couple of years previous, which seemed to solve the crunch in the gearbox, but there was still a lot of vibration coming from the gearbox. After that, Maud got some custom door cards, which I still haven't finished to this day. And a little while after that, I started trying to adjust Esther's not ideal gearbox mount to try and get rid of some of this vibration, because I actually found that the gearbox was leaning on the gearbox tunnel. But even with that corrected, the vibration was still there. Now, because of that, I wasn't able to take Esther to 2 major shows in July, which were the Classic Ford Show, which was at a new venue last year, the South of England Showground, I think it's called. And also, the very next week was the Ford Show at Santapod. Both of those shows I actually had my own club stand at, and I was really hoping to take Esther, but we took Maud and we took my dad's Mark 3 Escort. Both of those were awesome shows, really cool to have my own club stand. Got to meet loads of you guys for the first time, as well as catching up with some more familiar faces. And for those that have asked, I'll definitely be doing a club stand at both of those shows this year as well. And don't worry, when the time comes that I'm actually compiling lists of people to join me on the stands, I will heavily announce it on my social media and on YouTube. So stay tuned to the channel and my social media for all that. Now, at the end of July, Esther got her G19 sump to replace the very low quality tin sump that she's been running for ages. And while she was apart while I was doing that, I also managed to get her clutch off, and I actually found that there was a piece missing from the friction plate, which was obviously causing the vibrations that I'd been experiencing. Into August, and Esther was back on the road with a replacement gearbox that I'd bought when I found the vibrations, because I thought it might have been the gearbox causing the issues. And obviously I put in a new clutch. And then it was looking like Esther was going to be ready for my second trip over to Northern Ireland of last year for the Summit Run and Show. But literally 2 days before I was due to leave for that trip, I took Esther to get aligned, and then on the way back from the tyre shop, her exhaust manifold cracked. Now, luckily I was able to get it welded up at short notice and get the car back together, and we took Esther on a mega road trip over to Northern Ireland. We drove up to Liverpool, jumped on the ferry over to Belfast, and then drove from Belfast to County Fermanagh, where I met back up with my friend Porrig. And yeah, we went for a really cool rip in the countryside with a couple of other old school cars. And yeah, that was just the start of another awesome trip over in Northern Ireland. The day after that was the Summit Show, An awesome event organised by Porrig and his friends and family, not only so that car enthusiasts can get together and show their cars, but also to raise money for their local Parkinson's Support for Manor charity, which is a charity that's close to my friend Porrig's heart because he unfortunately suffers from Parkinson's disease, although he doesn't let it hold him back in life at all. He's literally probably the most inspirational man I've ever met in my life. The amount he gets done in a day, despite what he's got going on, is amazing. And yeah, in fact, all you guys that purchased the charity stickers that I released enabled me to hand a cheque over to the charity that day for, I think it was £1,060. So yeah, massive thanks again to everyone who grabbed a charity sticker. The day after the Summit show was the Summit run, which was awesome. It was the best time I've ever had driving a car, hands down. I think it was about 110 miles through the countryside, up and over mountains in, you know, the Northern Ireland and Ireland countryside. It's on the border of Northern Ireland and Ireland. We made a couple of stops off on the way. And yeah, it was awesome to see so many people over there that watch my videos. You know, there was literally people on, you know, the side of the roads as we were driving past. And yeah, it was like being in a rally. Like, it was amazing. The atmosphere, the organisation of the event. And yeah, the Summit run and show as an event is hands down the best event I've ever been to in my life. And yeah, definitely hoping to go back over there this year for Summit 2023. Now, we did have a bit of an issue on the Summit run with the alternator wiring. One of the plugs came off, but Barry very kindly cut a plug off the wiring loom with his MR2 to get us back up and running with the battery being charged properly and stuff. Yeah, what an awesome run that was. But unfortunately, the day after the Summit run, we noticed some serious issues with Esther's clutch. And yeah, my friend Porrig just advised me to repair it rather than just trying to, you know, limp it to the boat when we need to get back. And his friend Hugo very kindly lent us his lift and all his tools. Massive shout to you if you're watching, Hugo. And yeah, there was loads of other people jumping in to help me as well. And yeah, we got the car apart. We went to see Montgomery Motorsport for a clutch plate. They done me an awesome deal on the clutch plate. Porrig was running me around to get parts and stuff. And yeah, that in itself, although it was a bit of a nightmare, was an awesome experience, having so many people willing to, you know, drop what they're doing and help me. And yeah, we managed to get Esther back together, and we still had about a day and a half left to enjoy our time in County Fermanagh. And we still had time as well to go and visit Barry and check out his fleet of cars, including his really cool rear-wheel drive Mark II Fiesta project. So yeah, another awesome trip over in Northern Ireland. And again, if you didn't see all of those videos, do go back and watch them, because yeah, it was an awesome trip, and I was just really glad to film it all and share it with you guys. Now, unfortunately, on the way back from the Northern Ireland trip, about 30 miles from home, just outside London, Esther broke down. It turned out to be the alternator being dead, basically. So the issue we had on the Summit run where, you know, the wiring broke, and then the fact that I was still driving the car full send without the wiring hooked up to the alternator, I'm guessing burnt out the alternator. So yeah, we actually ended up getting the car recovered the last 30 miles from that trip, but we made it home. That's the main thing. And a couple of days after getting back from that trip, I realised that the reason that Esther was killing clutches is because the throw on the clutch pedal wasn't right. It was basically, you was able to push the pedal too far. So I ended up putting like a temporary bung on the bulkhead to stop the pedal being pushed too far. I've actually since then come up with a better clutch pedal stop that basically does the same job. Anyway, into September, and Esther got some more dream parts. I fitted some Gaz Gold adjustable coilovers on the front and some Gaz Gold adjustable shock absorbers on the rear. It's worth noting that she already had Gaz Gold adjustable shock absorbers on the rear, but they were a gold colour, whereas this new kit was black, so I switched them round. I also went to Brands Hatch for the first time in September for the Ford Power Live show. I was actually very lucky to be invited onto the South London Retro Power stand at that show. And yeah, another awesome show. Got to meet up with loads of people that watch the videos and check out loads of really cool Fords. Then at the end of September, I went to another event that I've never been to before, the Oso Retro Show in Margate. We actually went down there the day before and we attended an awesome meet at the Hornby Visitors Centre. And then we got a chance to look around the Hornby Visitors Centre at some really cool train sets, but they also had Scalextric in there and yeah, loads of other model cars as well. It was various companies of, you know, toys and collectibles in there, as well as the Hornby train. So that was really cool. And then in the evening, I actually organised a bit of a last minute meet-up myself at Margate Seafront, and a few guys came down. So now we're into October, and at the beginning of the month, Maud got the Capri 2.8 front suspension that I'd removed from Esther when she got her Gaz coilovers. And that meant that I was able to fit the shorter steering arms, which were sent to me probably 2 years previous by Lee Wallace, I believe. Massive thanks again to you. And they enabled me to get some much wanted extra steering lock, which I just knew was going to be a game changer in terms of drifting. Shortly after that, I fitted some brand new adjustable track control arms. I also fitted the RS spec crossmember, which was actually modified by the guys at Inky's Autos. Shout out to you. And I switched back to a stock steering rack because the steering arms kind of made the steering quicker, so it was too quick. So yeah, Maud got a lot of steering and suspension upgrades at the beginning of October. And then at the end of October, I fitted the ported cylinder head from AL Developments to Esther, which I'd actually had for quite a while. But unfortunately, because I'd basically left it too long to do the job, I then ended up failing to get her to her booked dyno session with Chris Todd, and it turned out to be a silly oil leak because of the cam seals. But yeah, by the time I'd realised what was going on, it was too late, and I wanted to cancel the dyno session so that Chris could get someone else down there rather than leaving it till the last minute and letting him down. So yeah, since then I haven't actually touched Esther. She's still not fully back together, but the engine has been run to confirm that the oil leak is not there now. So yeah, once I fully put her back together, get her on the dyno, she'll be ready to rip this springtime. And I'm hoping for another 20 horsepower on top of the 185 that we managed to achieve with the stock ST170 engine. Right, so now we're into November, and at the beginning of the month, Maud got a set of the alloy hubs with new bearings, and I fitted a new set of M16 calipers. I also switched over to a Facet fuel pump and Malpassi fuel pressure regulator just to try and get rid of some of the misfire issues. So far, that Facet fuel pump setup has worked fine, and it doesn't cause any leaks from the carbs like the cheaper Facet fuel pump I had fitted before I switched to the bike pump. But unfortunately, the new misfire issues that started happening around that time, I realised were actually caused by a head gasket failure. Now, I wanted to have the cylinder head refurbished before I put the engine back together, so I removed the head and I took it down to see Chris Kember at Clump Fab, because although a lot of his work involved welding, fabrication, restoration, he's also a wizard when it comes to refurbishing cylinder heads. Now, I actually took 2 cylinder heads down to him just in case, you know, Maud's one was cracked or whatever, and it was a good job I did. Now, while he was rebuilding the cylinder head, I fitted some fiberglass panels to Maud. I got a bonnet and an RS2000 style boot lid for very cheap. I actually paid £25 each for those panels. They came off of a rally car, so they were a bit battered. So yeah, I fitted those just to get Maud's curb weight down a bit. And then I collected the rebuilt cylinder head from Clump Fab. And around that time, I also found that there was a bit of an issue with how the axle was sitting on the leaf springs. And yeah, essentially the diff was facing up too much. And that kind of explained why I was having these issues sometimes where you could hear something, the prop shaft, hitting the floor. Now, it's worth noting at this time, I was very close to a drift day that I'd booked. So yeah, the fact that the engine and the rear axle weren't any good, yeah, it was a bit touch and go. And that was made worse because when I put Maud's engine back together with the new cylinder head and fired it up for the first time, the cam belt slipped off and I broke 2 valves, which I now realise wasn't the cam belt tensioner. It was the fact that I didn't have the crank pulley on, the one that runs the alternator belt. Now, I have initially started an engine before without putting that crank pulley on, but yeah, I won't be doing it again. So yeah, then Chris Kember offered to rebuild the other cylinder head in record time, which meant there was still a chance for me to get to the drift day. So yeah, went down to collect that from him, then fitted that cylinder head and got Maud's engine up and running again. Also removed the saddle bushes and another part in the leaf spring stack to rectify the issue with the axle being at the wrong angle. And yeah, I just about got moored ready for this drift day. Now the drift day was awesome, and I've actually got another one booked on the 11th of January. And as you'll know if you watched the last few videos, I still need to replace Maud's clutch and steering rack before then. But yeah, in the last month of last year, Maud's radiator cap went pop at a car meet, which was solved by fitting another radiator cap that I had. I found some damage on Maud's front panel, which I'm guessing must have happened at the drift day. I just cut it away with a grinder so that the wheels got loads of clearance. I also painted Maud's new panels, found another misfire en route to another West London Classic Ford meet, which, although I found lost sync counts when I plugged the ECU into my laptop, the fault was actually cured by a set of genuine Ford spark plugs. And then literally a couple of weeks ago, I destroyed Maud's clutch at the Herbie's meet. And then, as you would have seen in the last video, we gave Roger, my beautiful girlfriend Kat's plastic Fiesta, its first service. So yeah, that is 2022 in a nutshell. Definitely loads more that happened. And yeah, what an awesome year. I still have to pinch myself that so many of you guys regularly tune into my videos. So I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. Moving forward, I really do need to crack on with Heidi. As I've explained in the videos, the next step is that I want to bare metal the engine bay and in the boot area so that I can then send that car off somewhere to get those bits painted. But whether I should be, rushing out to do that in this cold weather, yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure. In terms of Maud, as you know, I've got to replace the clutch and she's going to be going to a drift day, which I'm really looking forward to. There's at least one really cool part that I've got to fit to Esther. If you're a patron, you would have seen that. It's actually on her interior, and that's going to involve a load of work, let's just say, before I can do that. And in fact, Esther's engine still needs to be put back together and stuff. So yeah, still plenty to do, plenty coming up. And yeah, I'm just loving this crazy car-based life, to be honest. Now, do let me know in the comments what your favourite part of my 2022 was. I'll be interested to know. Feel free to go back and watch all the old videos to remind yourself exactly what happened. One thing that hasn't happened as much as I was hoping is, me going out to meet some of you guys and make videos on your cars. I've actually got a massive list in my MacBook. Way more people than I expected to be interested in that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm quite gutted that I just haven't had the time to get out and do that sort of thing as I planned. I kind of overestimated how much of that I would be able to do. I had these dreams of going on regular trips around and visiting people, and yeah, life just isn't like that. There's just not enough time, as well as, cracking on with what I need to do with my cars and, the amount of time I spend editing. But yeah, as I've mentioned before, if any of you guys are able to make the trip to me, and I live just outside North London, then I am well up for meeting you guys and making videos about your cars. So yeah, if you're up for that, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. And yeah, hopefully in the future I will be able to get out and travel about more. But other than that, I hope to see loads of you at the car shows and stuff. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be able to arrange my own car show. So I think that's enough for this 2022 review video. Massive thanks to everyone who has watched this video to the end. Massive thanks again to all of you for your continued support. But yeah, if you are new to this channel, do click subscribe to keep up to date with all my future uploads. Check the links in the description to follow me on social media. Massive thanks to all my patrons for your ongoing support. I will leave a link to my Patreon in the description for anyone else who wants to jump on it. And as always, I'll leave my email address in the description for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.